Hey everybody, my name is Rydo, and today we are starting Frankenstein Master of Death. We'll start in just a minute. I want to point out just the fact that I'm going to play in advanced mode, and I guess that's all I can really point out, because there are really no other settings. We've covered vampires, we've covered zombies, we've covered trolls. At least I've recorded games that have involved all of those things in my recent past for this Halloween month. Now we're going with Frankenstein. This is a point-and-click adventure game. Let's see how it compares to Dracula's Legacy in particular. Oddly, I believe this may be the exact same company. In fact, as far as I know, there may only be like 3 or 5 companies that make hidden object games, and they just flood Steam with them. It would be surprising if that's the case. Let's start. So I'm gonna play in hard, difficult, just because there's an achievement for it, and this is an interesting way for this to explain itself. Almost no challenge, very simple with too few options, pretty tough. You're begged for your life. Couldn't you get a nice medium in there? I mean, if you're gonna explain it this way, it's like, I don't want something just blatantly easy like this puzzle, but I also don't particularly want to beg for my life. Oh well, I guess I'm begging for my life.
My current journey, and all the events to come, are due to a letter from my old friend Victor Frankenstein.
Without a
Victor
C.
is a brilliant scientist, obsessed with the idea of helping people overcome the fear of death by finding the secret of eternal life.
Look at this
His letter
animation.
is filled with worries and concerns, as well as the hope that I will help him. While he does not actually explain what's going on in the letter, he promises that all will become clear for me as soon as I arrive, if I will only come.
Of course, the problem
It's
with
obvious
zooming in on
is
a
of great
letter
import, and I leave for a place
is
he has
that
mentioned.
it would get more legible as
When
you
I
got
arrive,
closer.
Victor has assured me that he and his young wife Elizabeth will be there to meet me.
Why did it go exactly to the menu first? I don't know. Do you want some interactive help? Do we want to go through the tutorial? Let's go yes. Click on Elizabeth to continue. So, I'm not going to be fooled again like I was in Dracula's Legacy. You may get some cool animations here, but by the end of Dracula's Legacy, the game was very wild on different animation styles. Sometimes it looked good, sometimes it looked bad, and it really was out of place with the rest of the game and the actual gameplay. See, even this. See, like, as soon as we see there was a drastic shift to the cutscene of a different animation style, and then when we saw that zombie, all of a sudden the zombie quality of animation wasn't very good. Click on the vintage medical bag to zoom in. So we can't get through this gate. Surprise, surprise. Whenever you find yourself at a dead end, you can press the skull up here to get a hint. Interesting. Click on the key to pick it up. Okay. Click to continue. Click on the button to return to the previous screen. I can't pick up any of these other items. Yes, I can. Once found, all objects go into inventory. Click on the button to see what items are in your inventory. Here we go. See, I don't like having to click close, then click on an item and do all of that. So this insect ornament would work here. Can't reach the door. There's a strong electrical field in front of it. I don't think it's reasonable to even try to approach it. Alright. To open the carriage, take the key, use the key in the lock. At least we got a full animation of the key turning. This screen is available. What is this? Is an interesting pop-up secondary tutorial. And we go to hidden object games. Now collect all the objects from the list. Objects marked in blue require additional actions. Thanks. This feels exactly like Dracula's Legacy. In fact, even some of these images look like the exact same thing from Dracula's Legacy. This butterfly looks familiar, this screwdriver looks familiar, this flattened ball looks familiar, this skull probably has been in this umbrella. So we have this bird puzzle that we have to put together to get the bird. And when we do that, we'll unlock some of the regular things. And then we need a glass of wine, so we'll take this wine and pour it here and make a glass of wine. And the only thing left is the ball, which we've already seen the flattened ball right here. We just need to find a bicycle pump, which is right here, or some kind of pump to fill it up. Now, there's an achievement for getting, I believe, 3 things in 5 seconds. And we can do that easily right now if we find 3 things. Hedgehog, shoe, fish, and violin. Let's see, here's the shoe, here's the hedgehog. Where's the violin or the fish? We could skip this, but you'd lose out on the achievement if you did that, and then you'd also lose out, surprisingly, on the game, on actually playing the game. So here's a fish, here's a hedgehog, here's a shoe. Where's the violin? So we can have all 4 of them in case just one of them messes up. Is this the violin? I'll click on it. No, that's not the violin. I didn't think so. Here's the violin. Alright. There we go. That was 4 things in probably less than 5 seconds. And then we can just finish this off. Screwdriver, butterfly, hourglass, glasses, and bell. The number here tells you exactly what that tells you how many things are left in the hidden object games. Yes, this feels exactly like Dracula's Legacy, so we may very well be in for some pain. Dracula's Legacy didn't get really bad until the last 30 minutes of the game. Really, the puzzles just got incredibly hard, and the story got kind of silly, and the animation style, while ambitious throughout the whole game, was kind of weird. We look here, we place this. You need to rotate the circles by clicking on them. There's a symbol that you can skip this puzzle as soon as the bottom button in the upper right corner is refilled. So that puzzle just completely changed into something different. Now, the one thing I guess I can hope for here is that Frankenstein Master of Death is more in line with an actual Frankenstein story instead of Dracula's Legacy, which was barely just even a vampire story. And I think that might be the case. Wow. Wow, it's like the same script even from Dracula's Legacy. Wow. If you haven't seen Dracula's Legacy, you need to watch this series, watch that series right after this series, and just see the repetitive potential nature of it. Here, can I stab this thing with a screwdriver? Apparently not. Nice little animation there. Because there was pretty early in the game somebody knocked down a flaming tree and blocked your way. I'll take this. The thing is full of water, so I can't get it. How about we take this torch, light it here. So, I have no evidence of this, but I can only assume what this company does is they hire out an animation company to make the animations early into the development. Then they make the game around the animations. It throws you out when you've picked up everything, by the way, which is kind of annoying and makes the game easier than it should be. But I imagine they hire out to make the animations. It feels like the story is probably just simply made up by one or two people, and then the script of the actual events that happens, they feel like they might just be copy and paste things similar to the previous games they've made. So am I sending myself down this long level in which I'm going to play a bunch of these games and it will be just become blatantly familiar, the actions that occur? That if that's true, we're going to see a lot of puzzles here that require knives, a lot of puzzles that require keys, a lot of puzzles that require water, very few action verbs. Here's the solution to a puzzle, by the way. This, then this. Well, nope, I have to do something more than this, don't I? No, you can click this. So, you have to do it in this order, or it will probably be set. There's the crown. And see, when that opened and blocked the stuff behind there, you now know that there was nothing there to pick up. There are actually probably several items, if I was to guess, here that you're supposed to get, like this snail, this spoon, this cat, maybe. The cat's moving and blinking, that's a little creepy. This frog, they have a tendency to like frogs. We need a living rose, so we would need to make this rose alive. Not sure how we're gonna do that. And then painting. There we go. We'll take that. So snail, like I said, is one of them. Spoon is one of them. Mask is not one of them, so it must be this mask here. Apple, snake, feather. Haven't seen a feather. Here's a feather. The greatest part about the way they do these hidden object games, and I assume other companies have done them, is this isn't like completely full of garbage, and it's limiting you in such a way that you actually have to focus. You can't just go crazy and click all over the place and find things. You could, but it would take too long, and it's not necessary. I have yet to see any items that are just barely poking out from behind things, so it makes a much better experience. And I click up there, I'm trying to hit this frog, but it's too close to the menu. That's a mistake on their part here. Can we hide the interface? Yeah, let's hide the interface. I don't need it. That helps me. Elephant. And as things disappear, there's even less on the screen to find, so it gets simpler and simpler. The only thing is, that's a watering can. Didn't see it. There we go. And what will I get out of this? A bucket. One item to use over here. Apparently, the gem I picked up, there's multiple of those. 1 of 3. It feels almost Resident Evil-like that you would have 3 collectibles that potentially you would sell for money in Resident Evil. Here, I imagine it's for a key. So much fog I could get lost. You need to wait till the fog clears away and look for a source of light. Let's see. I can't even go backwards. So I'll go to a different path. There's 2 paths there. A nefarious looking guy that apparently the main character doesn't recognize, because he would have called out or said something there. Wow, this is so much like Dracula's Legacy. I mean, action for action. The leaves are poison ivy. Well, stab it with a screwdriver. I wouldn't recognize poison ivy if I even tried. Ooh, this is gonna be painful. It seems there's something missing from this electric device. I need to find the other part. Red ornament. And these 2 red ornaments don't fit here. The latch is jammed. Looks like someone broke a handle when they tried to open the door. So this is gonna be kind of painful. Your goal is to connect the 2 boxes with electrical current. Move the electrical tool from the right box to the left box. Be careful not to bump into the wire. This is a... what would you call it? This is a carnival game? It may be actually helping me quite a lot here. Now, we're gonna violate 3D perspective here as this goes around, as this rotates. Just carefully here. Notice that the thing I'm clicking on is now in no way connected to the magnifier. This is probably a good example of why this game in particular is not seen in video games, because it's hard to depict. The better reason why it's not seen in video games is because it is just a carnival game designed to make you fail, and it's kind of annoying because it has a tendency to either shock you or buzz loudly when you make contact with the thing. And frankly, all I'm doing here is dragging the mouse around very slowly. If I had to do this for much longer, my fingers would start cramping up, and I would start complaining about that. Apparently I did it. Not too bad, really. Just want to come back here though and just make sure I can't stab this with a screwdriver. Hey, I wish I could do that. Take the lantern and then get thrown out immediately because that's all we could do. So then that means the lantern clears the fog and we can go to this other area. A pirate ship, really? What does this have to do with Frankenstein's? Now we've already drastically left the explanation that makes any sense, or the story that we were supposedly being told here. There's only one use for this. Oh. Well, if there's only one use for it, it must be unscrewing screws, and that alone. have sunk. I need diving equipment. Diving suit? Really? Just a helmet. Click here to see the map. So, we get a map here, and this is gonna help. Now I'm trying to scroll out, unfortunately it's not working. We are here. This is where we are, and we could fast travel to any location. Location with available actions now or later. Unavailable location. So the red here and the red here means there's something I can do, and we can get a little bit of a spoiler and see. Why did it give me that tutorial again? This game seems like it's got a couple bugs when there's no reason why it should. A decent number of scenes depending on how much you do in each scene. See, I guess I can just now run this way, see if the hand shears work with that. No. And no, there it is. But there was poison ivy over here. That's right. So we, again, an animation that actually interacted with the interface, because at the end of Dracula's Legacy, the keys would just float towards locks and disappear, fade out, instead of going in the lock and turning. But we've already seen they did a better job of this, so maybe this company slowly improves, and this is just a newer version of their latest game. But there's still an obvious lack of ambition for as many hidden object games as there are on Steam, and just how quickly they put these things out. And frankly, you kind of need to get something like this in a bundle that's very cheap for it to even start to make sense financially, because they're going to be so short.
My efforts to discover the secret of eternal life seriously
look how good this looks compared to
but when I was on the
previous
brink
animations.
of bankruptcy, a miracle happened.
And then notice you
Quite
can't actually
unexpectedly,
read
I
the
made the
handwriting.
acquaintance of a man named Baron Igor von Zinden. The Baron is well versed in science, and what is more, exceedingly wealthy. Since he was fascinated by my ideas, Baron von Zinden not only agreed to finance my investigations, but also proposed that he become my assistant.
So somebody's paying you and they're gonna be your assistant? Yeah, that's a weird scenario that's gonna turn out badly. And that's one of those weird situations where you are better off just saying, no, if you're paying me and you're my benefactor, you need to either be the silent benefactor or you need to be my boss. And we just need to get this straight right now, because I cannot be dependent on your funding and then you be subordinate to me. Because every time there's an argument, which there will be arguments, the fear or the threat of you pulling funding is right there. Let's see. Will a hammer break this? There's only one use for this. It's gonna be ridiculous if there actually is more than one use for some of these things. Like, why is there a chain on the outside of something like that? Doesn't make sense. So I guess we could go look at the map. Looking at the map, I guess also then is going to be a scenario where I have to really keep in mind where I've been. Really? I cannot use a hammer on those things. See, I think you're better off walking through the area. That way you just have that memory going on. That way you see where, see things that you might have otherwise forgotten. Being a particularly forgetful person, here's your standard. I needed cobwebs. I need a feather duster to remove cobwebs because I'm too scared to just stick my hand through a cobweb or a crowbar through a cobweb for some reason. We're less focused on the character we're actually playing as in this game. Feather duster right there. Door's closed. And it needs a key. We're getting some decently alright music playing right now. Feather duster, hacksaw. Yep, we've seen all this before. Hacksaw to cut a chain. And then we can go into the next room. And we kept the hacksaw on the crowbar. Why is he not yelling out to these people? Why are these people just walking around in like weird buildings with broken mirrors and such? It surely cut my hands. Well, use a crowbar to nudge it out. Or use the screwdriver to break the glass a little bit more. Things have more than one uses. They need Alton Brown, the creator, the main character of Good Eats, to give his rant about unitaskers. The only thing he would allow in his kitchen that had one purpose was the fire extinguisher. Everything else you'd have to think of at least a couple of things you could do with it. So we have a lion key for a lion shape. I assume this is a different animal. Yep. And this is a third animal. So we have a lion, a wolf, and an eagle. And let's see. Got a nice light. A fresco. If I'm not mistaken, the room seemed larger during my last visit. He liked reading on the sofa and alcove behind these columns. So there's something behind there. There's a rat in the cage. Ew. But this rat is dead or possibly sick. Anyways, I have no wish to touch the cage, let alone put my hand in it. So apparently he knows that they've been succeeding somewhat already. I have no idea. One clock hand is missing. They've been having some success, it seems like, reanimating the dead. You can walk backwards either clicking this or this, which is kind of nice. Hand shoes. There's only one use for this. Wow. Long pliers. There we go. End of the clock. And we are just breezing through this with all these items too. The task here is simple. To finish this puzzle, you must move the 3 o'clock hands so that they cover the shadowed pieces correctly. You can only rotate the clock hands by clicking on them, but it won't be easy because the clock hands are connected, so clicking on one moves another one. So I assume you click on them like this, and let's see just how this all works. Alright, this is easy. Get this here, get this there, and we're done. That certainly didn't have me begging for my life, and frankly, that was incredibly easy. And I imagine if we go here, oh, it's not even a hidden object game.
Thanks to the generous financing from Baron Igor, I was able to create a miraculous machine. Its mechanism can reanimate dead bodies and even support life in them by means of electromagnetic pulses passing through the flesh. I'm ready to begin in vivo experiments.
So, the problem with Frankenstein as a concept actually is there's just too many people alive already. There's no reason to bring people back from the dead, particularly since they never seem in the Frankenstein stories to remember or maintain a personality or memory of the previous people they were. There's no reason to bring anybody back from the dead when there's children up for adoption, when there's 7 billion people on the planet. Right now, there's 7 billion people on our actual planet. So, I mean, it seems like there's other problems you could certainly solve from that. Now, I can see maybe a scientist thinking maybe we could prolong life by using this machine, but he doesn't really seem to have that as his goal, Dr. Frankenstein. His goal seems to be to create life for no real reason, and there's a lot easier way to create life. It's called having a baby. So the whole concept doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. What does make sense to me is that this is the end of this recording. As always, I end my recordings the same way. I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps me out. If you want to support me even further, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.